When the only constant in life is change, you need to be ready. This is the Man-Made Survival Show.
Hello everyone, my name is Jose Prado with ManMadeSurvival. Thank you so much for coming back to the channel and watching this video. Please share this information with your friends and family because today is a very important podcast because we're gonna be talking about what happened Saturday when the media pretty much manipulated millions of people by calling Biden the president-elect, and they fooled a lot of people, including me. And I do want to apologize for making a video that pretty much announced that Joe Biden had been elected without really understanding what was happening. You know, I was one of those that got fooled, and I do apologize for being fooled by the media, which is why it's important for us to talk about it today. All right, so before I get into the podcast, please share this information with your friends and family. We're still trying to get to the 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. We're also trying to get to the 1,000 subscribers on Brighteon, on Parler. We're also trying to get the likes on Facebook, Twitter, other places. And if you listen to this on the podcast, on the iHeartRadio, if you listen to the Apple Podcast, on the speaker platforms, I would really appreciate if you could leave us a 5-star rating because that really helps us out to get this information out to people who will really benefit from this, and really in some instances could actually be life-saving. So I would really appreciate it if you could help me out with just doing that. You know, and it doesn't cost you anything, but it helps me greatly. I also want to remind you that this podcast is sponsored by my store, ManMadeSurvivalStore.com. On there you can find everything you're gonna need for your preparedness, whether you're preparing for an EMP, you're preparing for a nuclear disaster, wherever it is. You can find the bundles on there. Everything that you need for that particular scenario is already pretty much pre-packaged, and it's just for you to buy, and you don't have to worry about it anymore. All right, so I would really encourage you to go on ManMadeSurvivalStore.com and check out everything that's on there. I also want to remind you about the book that I'm giving away for free. It's Preppers Secrete Cache. You can go to www.PreppersSecretCache.com. and you can click the link there. You just fill out your information and we'll send the book right away to you. I do want to let you know, though, that we need your help with shipping because, you know, the book is absolutely free. The book retails for $24.99 and the shipping is $9.99, so you are getting it for free. So I would really appreciate it if you could get you a copy or, you know, give somebody a free copy for Christmas. That would be an excellent gift to give, especially if they're going to start getting prepared or, you know, they're starting the prepping community. All right, so let's get into this podcast because the media has proven it actually has shown its power. The media can actually manipulate a lot of people just with one headline. All right, and again, I was a victim of that, and I do apologize. And that's, you know, usually, or not usually, what I do with this podcast is that I look at all the information that I want to share with you. I read all the articles. I vet the information. You know, I look at different sources who are saying the same thing or close to the same thing, and then I bring it out to you. And that's how I do the process on doing the podcast. That's how when I get this information, I say, okay, you know, different sources are talking about it, and this is what the article says. That's why I always encourage you to get the headline. I tell you where it comes from. For you to look it up and read all of it, because I can only show you so much, because if I read the entire articles, then, you know, this podcast would be very long and boring, and that's what I don't want it to be. So that's why it's important for us to vet the information, you know, whether it's you as the follower watching this podcast or me as bringing you this information. We both have to vet it, you know, the best way that we can with the available resources that we have. All right, and right now would be the internet. So the mainstream media pretty much came out and gave hope to a lot of people. And they say, you know, Biden is the president-elect. Biden came out, you know, he had a speech ready. The stage was ready. Kamala Harris was ready. The balloons were ready. And then pretty much told the American people, hey, this is your new president. When in fact, that was not the case. We know now that for one, they jumped the gun. For two, the counting is not even over. And three, right now, there's a legal battle in some of the states that have actually rescinded their votes for Biden, and they're actually starting to look like Trump is going to win them. I guess just time we'll have to wait and see. Time will tell. All right, so again, with the mainstream media. They gave hope to people, and people were celebrating, Orange Man bad, he's out of the office, it's a brand new day here in America, and now it's time for us to come together and heal, when we know for a fact that the past 4 years they have done nothing but divide the country. The mainstream media has been the main source of divisiveness in this country, with 24-hour coverage in how Trump is bad, how Trump is a racist, how he sucks, and everything, especially through the pandemic, because they always say he's not doing enough, he's not doing enough. And I've talked to people who have actually said that, and I've asked them, okay, so let's say that Biden did win. What would you want him to do differently that you would say this is what he should do, or this is what Trump could have done that would make the response of the pandemic better? And usually when you talk about it with those people, they don't really have an idea. They just know what the media has told them, that pretty much Trump hasn't done a very good job, and all they know is that it should be better. No idea not having an idea on how making it better. But anyways, also who else is complicit in all this is social media. Because when the reports came out that Biden was president-elect, the fact checkers, they took a day off that day. They did not fact check anything, and they just let it be to where Biden is the president-elect. Even though, as all this information has come out, that there's machines who are counting votes for Biden when they're actually for Trump, ballots that had been filled out improperly that became illegal. The pollsters, they're the ones that filled it out correctly, and then that's how they gave the votes to Biden, and those were in the thousands also. So that's why it's important for us to understand that we need to listen to the alternative media, because the mainstream media is not really going to help us a lot, are they? The alternative media, people like me and others who actually dive into the articles, dive into the information, vet the information to bring you the best up-to-date information, the most accurate information, we do that. And the mainstream media, they just have an agenda. The fact checkers have an agenda. If right now, if you were to post an article that said that there was voter irregularities, they're going to have a fact check thing on the bottom and say, no, this is not happening, or whatever, So if you want to transition away from social media, because, you don't have to stay on Facebook, you don't have to stay on Twitter, you don't have to stay on YouTube. They're the ones that exploded in popularity, but now there are other social medias. For example, the counter to Facebook is going to be Gab. You can go to gab.com, and it's also like a Facebook. The opposite of Twitter is Brighteon.social. There's going to be no censorship, and you can say whatever you want, talk about whatever you want, and Mike Adams is not going to censor you. The opposite of YouTube is Brighteon.com. On there, you can upload your videos, talk about whatever you want to talk about, and you're not going to be censored. That is something that most of the times you don't enjoy on YouTube, because there are censorships on YouTube. I've experienced it myself. There has been some videos that I've done that have been shadow banned. So you don't have to stay on what right now is the mainstream social media. There's alternatives. Trump supporters can go there. There's a lot of people on my Facebook feed who are going to Parler. So you don't have to stay on Facebook. You don't have to stay on Twitter. You don't have to stay on YouTube. You don't have to stay on all these other ones that love to censor people. So there's other alternatives. We're the ones who are staying in the social media, making them rich, and on the other hand, they call you bad, they call you a racist, and they just censor you, and they put you in Facebook jail and this other stuff. When really, in reality, you don't have to. You don't have to be there. You can go somewhere else. All right. So the first headline that I have for you is this: Trump says election far from over. Biden honored and humble after MSM declared him president-elect. This from Zero Hedge. The mainstream media has launched a coordinated effort to proclaim Joe Biden president-elect. President Trump and his campaign team has reminded Americans that legal votes decide who is president, not the news media. As constitutional lawyer Jenna Ellis explained, quote, Joe Biden is not the president-elect just because the media declares him so, end quote. Media coordinated efforts are attempting to simply declare Joe Biden the president and ignore the rule of law. There is no official winner until every legal vote is counted accurately, the state certified results, and all legal challenges are resolved. As a reminder, here are the official dates that matter, as opposed to what CNN thinks. December 8, states are expected to resolve controversies at least 6 days before the meeting of electors. December 14, electors meet in respective states to certify their votes for president and vice president. As Trump said earlier, this election is far from over. And it really is because, as I mentioned earlier, the media, they're working overtime. The social media is working overtime in order for them to hide the fact that Biden is not president-elect. And there's some states that have actually rescinded their votes for Biden, and they have actually put him behind the 270 mark. So Biden is not the president-elect, or at least not yet. It could it happen? Yes, of course. But more than likely, or at least what it seems like right now, it's not going to happen. All right, the next headline that I have for you is very important because it shows how many states have actually either rescinded, or they're recounting, or they have a legal legal battleground to go through here in the next few weeks. All right, this is the headline. This election is not over, and the media knows it. That's also from Zero Hedge. Pennsylvania, Nevada, Wisconsin, North Carolina, and Michigan are all recounting votes. They're rescinding their votes for Biden, and they have legal challenges. And also another one to add to this list, because it came out later on, is that Arizona has actually also rescinded their votes for Biden. So Biden is nowhere near 270, or at least not officially and legally at this moment. All right, and here's the reason why Trump is actually suing the crap out of some states, because, you know, of the votes, of the machines, of everything that's going on, because there's a lot of vote irregularities that need to be addressed. And there's some people out there who are actually fighting it, because, you know, they know that if we look into the issue, it's really going to come out, and we're going to see that Trump is the actual winner of all of this. And we have known this for since the beginning, really. But legally and officially, we have to make sure that we have all our ducks in a row to make sure that Trump is the legal, or is taking his legal second term as president. All right, so I have 3 headlines for you, and I just want to give you the headlines because I want to get into what it would look like if Biden was to be the president. But I do encourage you to get these headlines, look at the information in more detail that I'm going to be summarizing for you. All right, the first one is, in 30 states, a computer system known to be defective is tallying votes. That's also from Zero Hedge. Georgia election officials, machine glitched caused by last-minute vendor upload. That's from Politico. Market Friday, Civil War it is then. That's from TomLongo.com. All right, so now that I give you the headlines, I do want to go into them for just a minute. The second one that I gave you is Georgia election officials, machine glitch caused last-minute vendor upload. You know, it's very convenient how at the last minute they try to do a software upload that makes the computer glitch. And in just one county, there was 6,000 votes that should have gone for Trump that went to Biden. And that is not the only county having the problem. There was other 47 counties in the state that were having the same issue. Now, we don't know if if it was all 6,000, but, you know, let's say that we multiply 6,000 by 47, just to have a flat number. That is the equivalent to 282,000 votes that went to Biden that should have gone to Trump. Pretty much giving Georgia to Trump. You know, that would be a victory, or at least in my opinion, it would be. Now, the next headline is, in 30 states, a computer system known to be defective is tallying votes. Let's say it's the same computer system. If I'm not mistaken, it is. Now, let's do this one state, you know, Georgia, with 287,000 votes. There's 282,000 votes. Now, multiply that by 30. Because once you multiply that by 30, let's say that it's exactly the same number for all the other states. All right, that is the same as 8,460,000 votes that instead of going to Trump, they went to Biden. So let's think about this for a second. You know, not to include the dead people who came out of the 1800s to come and vote for Biden. What if this historical outcome that voted for Biden is actually Trump's? Except that the machine, since they messed up, they gave it to Biden. So that would even shift everything. The whole concept that Biden is the most popular president in the U.S. history because everyone hates Trump would actually be the opposite. No one likes Joe Biden, and everyone wants Trump to be in the office. And for you and me, that's an obvious given, but for people on the left, it is not very clear, all right? Because they're being lied to by the media for the past 4 years, demonizing Trump every single day on every aspect possible, disrespecting him, disrespecting the office, and it's not just the media, but also people in the government. But the point is that, as far as the population goes, we want Trump in the office. Historically, he would be the most popular president in the United States. If we could get rid of the corruption, we could get rid of the dead votes, we could get rid of the votes that were altered and everything like that. All right, so that's how that is. Now, the last one that I gave you was Market Friday, Civil War It Is Then. That's from Tom Longo. Pretty much what it's saying is that since everything is being rigged, people are going to be heated on both sides, because right now with the election we have Biden's side. They have been told that they have been given the victory, right, by the mainstream media. They have been told since Saturday that they won. So much so that Biden is putting together a team for transition and everything. We shouldn't be doing that yet. But as far as the population goes, they're very heated. They're very happy that Biden won. They were very passionate about it. On the other hand, we have Trump and the Trump supporters, where they show into the thousands when he goes to a rally or anything like that. There was also a caravan that was 100 miles long. That's the type of people, or that is the people who has come out and supported Trump. If and when they take the victory away from Biden and they say, you know what, actually Trump is the one that won, how is the left going to feel? How's Antifa going to feel? How's Black Lives Matter going to feel? How are all these other groups that are on the left that have vowed to overturn Trump, to do a coup, to pretty much be occupying the White House forever and ever until he gets out of the White House? What are they going to do? What are they going to feel like? It could be flipping the switch. They're going to go berserk, and then that's how we can have a civil war. The other one is that if the election is to be stolen from us, or being stolen from Trump, everybody on the right is going to feel like they have the righteous indignation of making sure that the republic doesn't collapse, because we would have to do something about it, and violence can come from it, especially with what I'm going to be reading to you next, all right? Because we're talking about lockdowns again, we're talking about forced vaccinations, and we're going to get into the article. The next article is Biden to name COVID-19 task force on Monday. Here's his plan. That's from Zero Hedge. And before I get into it, all right, I want you to understand that this is what it would be like if Biden was president. I already did a podcast in the past where, we looked at the aspect of finances, on how he wants to spend trillions and trillions of dollars on all these social programs and everything he wants to do. Would he be able to do it? Probably not. But the point is that if he was successful in doing it, he would spend trillions of dollars that we don't have, pretty much giving us an even worse economic collapse that we're facing right now. Now, this is another round of lockdowns and everything else. But people are going to, if they're already pissed about the election being stolen from them, adding this to the list of more censorship, of more, oppression and everything, that can make people snap. And then we can have that civil war that everybody has been anticipating for the past 4 years, really. All right, the article says, on Monday, I will name a group of leading scientists and experts as transition advisors to help take the Biden-Harris COVID plan and convert it into an action blueprint that starts on January 2021. Biden's plan, according to NPR, calls for empowering scientists at the Centers for Disease and Control Prevention to help set national evidence-based guidance to stop outbreaks, as well as making significant investments in vaccine distribution, testing, and the creation of public health workforce to carry out contact tracing and other services. What you're going to see is a laser focus on ensuring that people get adequate testing and clear information, said Murphy. So, more testing and clear information, and the CDC scientists will now be empowered to dictate national policy. The specifics of Biden's plans per NPR is: number one, set shared guidance for slowing community spread. Under Biden's plan, the CDC will be directed to provide specific guidance based on degree of viral spread in a community for how to open schools, open business, Emmanuel said, or when to impose restrictions on gathering size, or when to stay at home orders may be called for. It will create a national pandemic dashboard to share this information with the public. This is a strategy recommended by a top group of public health experts who released a framework for assessing community risk. And Biden says he'll work with every governor to make mask wearing in public mandatory in their state. All right, so I want to touch on number one real quick. It tells you right off the bat, point number one, you're going into lockdown again. And you can bet your bottom dollar that after January 20, probably, all the way through February, they're going to make the choice and they're going to make the call for locking down the country once more. And they're talking about it. They're telling you point blank, they're going to restrict gathering sizes and when to stay at home. The stay at home orders was pretty much where we went back. If we go back into April, that's what pretty much it was. They call it safer at home in some states. That's why they call it in my state, safer at home. That pretty much meant don't go anywhere, stay at home all the time. All right, they're going to do it again. They're going to close schools again. They're going to close your workplace again. And you're going to stay at home all the time. Are they going to give you another stimulus package? Probably. They have been talking about a UBI through the whole pandemic. So they might do it. Biden might do it. And again, it's more trillions of dollars that we don't have. If in one paycheck for Americans and corporations, they spend $3 trillion for one paycheck that only covered 1 month, and not even the entire month, for some people, because expenses for people are over $1,200. How's it going to look like to do that over months and months and months? It's not feasible. It can't happen. That's what people on the left do not understand. They don't get through their head. You cannot just simply print money out of thin air and not expect other countries to pretty much get rid of the dollar, making our currency worthless. All right, the second one is very simple. It just says seriously ramp up testing, which pretty much just means opening more places to test people. Number 3 is important, all right? And listen to my wording. Hire thousands of public health workers. The Biden team plans to, quote, mobilize hundreds of thousands Americans, to work with local organizations around the country to perform contact tracing and other health services for populations at high risk of COVID-19. Quote, imagine a public health workforce that was also helping train schools officials in how to reopen safely, Murphy told NPR, or helping run public education campaigns about a vaccine and how to stay safe in the pandemic. All right, so yes, I call them 100,000 snitches on purpose because that's pretty much what they're gonna do. All right, they're gonna be all up in your business and they're gonna report you to the authorities. Now, something that we can expect, something that we saw in Georgia as well, is that they were trying to go door to door to collect blood. That might be something that they want to do. All right, and if you don't comply, what can happen? They haven't said, but legally they cannot do that. You have the right to refuse. All right, they cannot just take blood because they want you to, and do not be intimidated. All right, now all this also implies that they're gonna make people pretty much be convinced of taking the vaccine. And also in schools, they're gonna manipulate children into manipulating their parents into taking the vaccine. Now, something that I want to mention and that you should really wait and prepare for and really think about what you're gonna do is, if they do make the vaccine mandatory, what are you going to do with your children when they make them take the vaccine to go to school? All right, that is going to be an issue in the future, because if they make it mandatory for everyone, the schools are going to make it mandatory for the children. And there are already vaccines mandatory for school. If you don't have certain vaccines, if it's not up to date, guess what? You don't get to go to school. All right, so what happens then? There's going to be people who are not going to be able to either stay at home all the time with the children and still have to go to work because, that's the window when kids are in school, when parents go to work, especially if you're a single parent, all right? And you're going to have a lot of difficulty, so you're going to probably put the vaccine on the child so they can still go to school. And, that implies, depending on what age they are when this goes out, if you have children who are in preschool, then it's not like you're going to keep them out of school for the next 13 years, all right? So that's something that you really have to think about and ponder on what you're going to do. Talk with your spouse, talk whoever you talk to on how you're going to avoid this. One of my propositions is that you write a letter, you as a community, you gather your community and say, we are not going to take this vaccine, right? Because we don't know if it's effective or not, for one. And two, when all the information has come out on it, we don't want to take it. We don't want our children to take it. And we should still go to school because this is, the coronavirus acts just like the flu. Once the vaccine is available, that should be like the flu shot. The flu shot is not mandatory at school. It's only optional, right? The coronavirus shot or the coronavirus vaccine should be equivalent to the flu shot, where you only want to take it when you want to and seasonally if you want to, all right? So making it something that has to be taken by children every year, in my opinion, should not happen. All right, the next one is number 4. Help people get health insurance, which is self-explanatory, and that's through the Obamacare. Create a caregiving workforce. That pretty much talks about a workforce of caregivers for children and elderly while the adults are going to work. And number 6, boost vaccine distribution and personal protective equipment production. The Biden team proposes investing $25 billion in a vaccine manufacturing and distribution plan that will guarantee it gets to every American cost-free. All right, so that last one is important because they're already saying that they're going to spend $25 billion in the first round of coronavirus vaccines, right? Are they going to make it mandatory? We don't know. But they are going to make it free. But it's going to be more than $25 billion because, for one, we have seen Bill Gates come out and say that it's going to take more than 2 or maybe 3 doses of the vaccine in order for people to be completely immune to it, or at least to get rid of the society. So it's going to be more than $25 billion if they're in fact going to give it for free. I guess we're going to have to wait and see. And remember, those are going to be the plans, or that's the plan on the Biden presidency. That's if he actually does win. So the reason it's important for you to know this information so you can do something about it, because, what's the point of knowing all this stuff if you're not going to do anything about it, All right, so now that we finished talking about that, I want to focus and actually want to shift, I want to shift the focus into what would happen and what a lockdown will look like, especially as heated as the political theater is right now. All right, so the next item that I have for you is very important because it's already happening in the United States to a certain extent. And of course, you're going to hear the keywords that they were trying to use at the beginning of the pandemic. All right, and I do have some intel for you that I need to kind of clarify but I'm going to do that just in a minute, all right? The first one is a lot of hoarding. Americans race to supermarkets as second wave arrives. That's from Hedge. The outlook for the virus pandemic is worsening across the country, with more than 20 states reporting cases numbers at or near record levels. As cases rise, so do anxieties among consumers who have already started panic hoarding for the second time this year as the COVID winter approaches. The second round of a panic hoarding comes as new COVID-19 daily cases have been steadily increasing since September. Even though food companies have prepared, shortages will likely be seen at U.S. markets and or buying limitations will be placed on items. All right, so what I want to say about that is this. All right, I do want to clarify this information because I did get it. I got this information, I want to say, I think it was Sunday when I got it. But anyways, the point is that I had not had the time, or I had not had the opportunity to come out on this podcast and talk about it. Today is Tuesday, November 10th. So I was not able to come out and let you know what was going on. What I was told by somebody who works in a distribution of a major retailer for groceries, is that they are supposed to start implementing limitations after Thanksgiving. That's what I was told. I don't want it to be where I've told you it didn't happen. We have to understand that, or what they told me is that there's people working hard to avoid that because they're expecting shortages. And since they're expecting shortages, they want to go ahead and establish the limitations. So when people start panicking about it, they can only buy so much, and they can pretty much slow the flow on how fast items fly off the shelf. That's what I was told. Is it going to happen? We'll have to wait and see after Thanksgiving. This is information that I can only relate to you because I was told by a person that didn't want me to give too much details because they don't want to get fired. So that's why I don't want to go too much into it, and it's pretty much a little bit vague. So, take it at face value, take it for what it is. If it happens, then the information was accurate. If it didn't happen, then the information was not accurate. But also, they did say that they are working hard into trying to avoid that possibility. So if it happens, great. If it doesn't happen, great. If it happens, then we have to be ready for it. Now, I do want to mention too that in the past few hours, and actually about a day ago now, information did come out that the truckers, they do plan on going to strike because of lockdowns. That there might be lockdowns. There's states who are going to lockdown again. There's countries going to lockdown again, which is what I'll be talking about here in a second. And truckers are saying that they're going to strike because if they're gonna do that, then they're just not gonna work. They don't want to go. They don't want to get sick and stuff like that. I do want to do a podcast about it, so it might be 2 podcasts from now. So I encourage you to look out for it, and I do want to get into it as more information is coming out because all those reports were fresh, and now more information is coming out. Twitter videos are coming out, Facebook videos are coming out, so I will get into it in a different podcast. But do prepare for the next 3 weeks for there to be buying limitations at your grocery store. It might happen, all right? So anyways, how are people going to react? All right, in the United States, some people have reacted by supposedly hoarding again, which, for the mainstream media, hoarding can be anything. But in Europe, in other places, because Spain has gone into lockdown, Paris has gone into lockdown, Germany, I believe, has gone into lockdown. Some states in the United States have gone into lockdown. Mexico has gone into lockdown again. I'm not sure about Canada. I think I've seen something about Canada. But anyways, the point is that there's a second lockdown coming. All right, and under Trump, it may not happen in the United States as it was back in April. We don't know. He has said that he don't want to lock down again because of what happened to the economy. But Joe Biden saying this is the very first thing he's going to do January 20, if he does become the president of the United States. Now, I'm going to read you the headlines on how people are reacting in Europe about their lockdowns. The first one is this: Europe back in lockdown mode. That's from Zero Hedge. Thousands gather across UK denounce national lockdown. Clashes with police, cities empty out as Greece plunge into second lockdown. Escape from Paris, city is gridlock as tens of thousands flee, stations are packed, violent protests break out, and shelves are stripped ahead of month-long lockdown that bans travel. And the last one, NHS nurse publicly resigns, blast COVID lockdown policy. Okay, so violence is pretty much the common denominator in all of this. In Spain, in other places in Europe, in the UK, in Paris, there has been violence come out of this other lockdown because, for one, people don't want to be locked down anymore. 2, the people who have been locked down are the ones that have lost their businesses and their jobs. All right, I have had my brother and my sister-in-law in the show before saying how they went from being super busy to not having anything at all and actually getting laid off because the company closed. All right, that's a reality that happened. And in Paris, people are fleeing. They were trying to flee before they went to lockdown. And some people fled, so much so that the streets were packed. The the train stations were packed. But here's the important part of it. There was a ban on travel. That is why it's important for you to be at your bug out location, ready to go at a moment's notice if anything like this happens. Let's say they do this in the United States where they tell you at 5 o'clock tomorrow, that's it. You don't go anywhere. All right. And if you so much stick your nose out of your door, you better have a really good excuse why. So you have to be at your bug allocation ready to go at all times. That's why it's important for you to have bug allocation. And if you're going to stay in your house, then you also have to be ready to go. All right. With all your food that you're going to need, all the water you're going to need. You should start homesteading right off the bat. You know, right now we're going to winter. There's some crops you can put in the ground. But you can get chickens, you can get goats, you can get sheep, you can get rabbits. There's a bunch of stuff you can do while you're locked down at home, just sitting around, you know, not doing anything. All right, so that's why it's important for us to know this information and to act on it. Now, the last one, I want to finish this video with a video, okay? And the headline says, "Real risk. COVID could spark World War III. An army of 30,000 robots may fight future conflicts. Chief of Defense Staff warns." This from The Sun. All right. So here's that video.
And like looking at history tells us that economic crises lead to security crises. How worried are you that the global economic crisis brought on by coronavirus could lead to new security threats, potentially even war?
Yes, I mean, I think, we're living at a moment in time where the world is a very uncertain and anxious place. And of course, the dynamic of global competition is a feature of our lives as well. And I think the real risk we have with quite a lot of the regional conflicts that are going on at the moment is you could see escalation lead to miscalculation. And that's the thing I think we have to guard against.
Miscalculation, can you just spell that out in easy language? What does that mean?
So what that means is that the protagonists, either because they don't realise the implications of their actions, lead to an escalation, which means that more people perhaps get involved, more weaponry gets involved, and before you can contain it, it leads to the sides ending up in a full-blown war. And if that happens, as we saw in the last century, I mean, we have to remember history might not repeat itself, but it has a rhythm. And if you look back at the last century, before both world wars, I think it was unarguable that there was escalation that led to the miscalculation, which ultimately led to war at a scale we would hopefully never see again.
So are you saying that's a real threat, that there could be another world war?
I'm saying it's a risk, and I think we need to be conscious of those risks. And that's why remembrance matters, because if you look back at history, hopefully you learn from their experience and you make sure that you're very cautious about how you manage the sorts of regional conflicts that we see playing out in the world today.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for coming to the podcast. Thank you for listening to this. Please share this information with your friends and family. We're still trying to get to the 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers on Brighteon.com. We're also trying to get to more subscribers and in the speaker platform. I think we have about 2,000 there, but we're trying to get to more people. So please give us a 5-star rating. Please help us grow this channel, because this information is important. It's important for you to understand what's going on, and it's important for you to prepare for it. All right. So please share this information far and wide. I do want to mention that in the next podcast after this one should be about the Great Reset. And it's a very important topic, because once you read into it and you understand what they're saying, there's a lot of things we need to get prepared for, right? And I'm going to go into great detail on the preparedness when it comes to that one, all right? So, again, I want to remind you that this podcast is sponsored by my store, ManMadeSurvivalStore.com. And also, I'm giving away a book for free. All we need your help is with shipping. The name of the book is Preppers Secrete Cache. You can go to www.PreppersSecreteCache.com, or you can just click the link below, or you can go to the front page of the store, ManMadeSurvivalStore.com. You can click that link, or you can click on the picture of the book. It'll take you to the side where you can fill out your information, and we'll send it to you right away. That book is a great gift to give for Christmas. I have had several people ordering different books, or not different, but extra books, so because they have been giving them away. So again, I want to thank you for doing that, and I encourage you to continue doing the same, because that's going to help us grow, and that's going to help us get this information out to everyone. But anyways, again, my name is Jose Prado, and remember, always ready.
The Man-Made Survival Show.